That's actually beautiful. But what is Irn-Bru?
Irn-Bru, it's orange nectar, as we call it in Scotland.
From the heavens.
Yeah, this is what you need in the morning to get you going as a Scotsman.
So Irn-Bru and Marlboros.
It's difficult to describe. When I took it to America, Americans thought it was more like bubblegum. And I think there is some sort of aspect of it there, but it's not entirely. It's very difficult even for me to describe it.
Is it a carbonated soda?
Why don't you try it?
I wouldn't want to try it on camera and spit it out. I'm kidding. No, why don't you have a swig? Get that Scottish energy in you.
Oh.
Is it a caffeinated drink?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Oh, it's glorious.
What started all of this? What forced you to leave Scotland to look for?
Well, I was going into my final year of my nursing degree at university,
Right.
and coronavirus happened.
So this is 19 or 20?
Was it 20?
20.
Well, whenever the first lockdown happened,
It's 20.
they told everyone to stay at home, don't go to university. And I was climbing the walls, bored. And I'm in the house and I'm watching all these travel vlogs, and I thought, do you know what? I'll give it another few weeks, and if nothing kicks off again, then I'll go. And weeks later, I was still sitting at home, and I packed a bag and I went to a place called Garbage City in Cairo. And it's where all the Christians, the Coptic Christians live.
I saw that vlog. It was
And they
horrible.
do all the recycling.
Why Garbage City? Why was that the first sort of thing that popped up in your head? Was it just the COVID restrictions?
Well, I like the thought of I always like the thought of maybe going somewhere that the government tell you not to go to, or you're not supposed to be. So I
Right.
went there, and I was told to leave. The locals didn't want me there. And believe it or not, I got a little bit of a buzz from that. And then I went to the pyramids, which outside the pyramids is hell on earth.
Yeah, I've heard it's a big tourist trap.
Considering how many tourists go there per year, it's an absolute shambles outside it. There's dead camels and donkeys, and it wasn't good. So
People trying to sell you something
constantly,
constantly.
I think they see, and it sounds bad, but I think they see the white foreigner, and they automatically think, how can we get money from him? That was the vibe that I was getting.
Right.
But don't get me wrong, I met some amazing Egyptians, but that gave me the buzz. That gave me the buzz to start traveling, and since then I've never stopped.
It's been 4 years.
It's been a good few years now. Like,
It's been 4 to be exact. If you started in 2020, we're midpoint 2024. It's been a solid almost 4 years. And so the urge to right, you've grown up with the healthy diet of YouTube, right? I'm guessing you've had it for a good 10 years, 20 years. How old is YouTube? 15 years, 20 years?
yeah, I mean, I've grown up practically, especially in my teenage and like young,
Online.
watching YouTube.
So you had an idea of how vlogs worked, and were you a big vlog consumer prior to that or no?
You could say I was somewhat, like, it was becoming a thing where I would check every night to see any travel vlogs, and it wasn't something that I grew up watching. It was only maybe I'd say about a year or two prior to COVID, and I started to enjoy it, and that's when I thought I didn't think I would have. I wouldn't say, like, I always thought I could go traveling, but to stand in front of a camera and be that guy, I didn't know if I had that in me.
And I think if anyone watches your vlogs, by the way, so for the audience, this is Callum. It also goes by Callum Abroad.
Yeah.
And is that the same in all of the social media?
Yes.
All right, Callum Abroad. And I was introduced to you by Miles. Miles Rutledge is the one and only. And you have that same sort of wanderlust sort of spirit. The difference is Miles is more into this danger tourism, but you're up there definitely. You're not.
Yeah, I mean, I like the aspect of going to the, like, in the last year, I've been to Syria, Iraq, Somalia, Ukraine, where else? Colombia. Like, so there's certainly some of these countries are on the list, you know, in
Right.
terms of danger. But it's a lot of people think, oh, like, to go somewhere that you're not supposed to go, or go somewhere against your government's advice. I think in the West, people read the government advice and automatically think, right, that's too dangerous, we can't go. When you actually go to these places and you speak to the people, and you realise that the majority of people are good, friendly people.
So you would be as adventurous as a Miles, but perhaps just slightly less racist. Like a friendlier
Maybe let's
version of Miles.
I'm a friendly version of Miles, shall we say? I'm more
Miles,
open.
And definitely not on the spectrum. Irregular or
If there's one man on the spectrum undiagnosed, that is
Miles.
Miles.
Miles is a
He's a wild guy.
He's a wild guy. No, he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And I saw some of your vlogs when he introduced them to me. And you were supposed to come with him on that most recent trip from Afghanistan into Pakistan.
Yes.
We took the boat back to Oman, and then he took a flight from Oman to the UK.
Yep, I think I was in America at the
You
time.
ended up in America, and you couldn't coordinate it with him in the end. But you've been a fair bit in South Asia. You've been to India 5 times? 6
No,
times?
I've been to India twice. I've been to Pakistan 5 times.
Right. I had assumed that you did both the same number of times to keep it balanced. Or
No, I'll be honest with you. I have a love affair with Pakistan. I spent almost 4 months in Pakistan last year alone.
4 months in Pakistan.
Yeah,
And were they the summer months, or
I've done both.
you've done both?
But the hottest that I've experienced was last August.
Oh,
I was in Mirpur.
but this would be the hottest. No, this time
Right
around.
now, today's struggle. It was 42 degrees coming here,
Right.
and a bit too hot for the Gora.
No, it's a bit too hot for the Gora, definitely. No, but that's such an insane thing, because you've totally turned the vlogging thing on its head. Because I've seen your vlogs, and if anyone in the audience has seen your vlogs, it's not like a typical vlog. It's a man on the street kind of thing, and you're not going to the touristy spots. You're just sort of hanging out.
Yeah. Well, I find my vlogs. One minute I'll be walking down the street. The next minute I'll be in someone's house.
Or in
I'll
a
be
cafe or
at
whatever.
Lahore Polo Club. It's random, but I like to show the real Pakistan. I don't go. The thing with my videos, I don't go with an agenda. So if I go and I find something bad, then I'll say it's bad.
Unsure as it is. Yeah.
And if it's good, I'll say it's good. I don't go with an agenda of everything must be bright and bubbly and amazing. Or
I talked with Miles as well, that I think a lot of the places that have been explored incorrectly. Like, it's just like, oh, this food is great, everything tastes great, everything is fine, and the next day they don't tell you that they're sick to their gills. You know? That they're puking up in their room, but they won't mention that in the vlog.
As I just experienced in India.
As you just experienced in India. No, but another thing, we're gonna have to wait like a hot minute. No, but it's not just the type of vlog you make. Even with the audience outreach, the classical sort of Gora, the white model, would be to appeal to. So it's like saying, do you want to appeal to 250 million people? Maybe more than half don't even have the internet, which is Pakistan, or 1 billion people with guaranteed internet, which is India. But you tend to, I wouldn't say you shit on India, but you tend to have a more critical view of,
Well, I was told prior
yeah.
to going to India, like you says, don't really mention Pakistan, try and big up India, tell them it's great. And I thought, well, that's not what I do. So I found that in India, and you've probably seen on the video that went viral, I have Indians coming up, oh, where have you been? And as soon as you mention Pakistan, how's Pakistan's infrastructure? How is it? How's the food? Compare India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
And if you ask someone to compare something, then you must be prepared for their answer. So when I said, in a nutshell, like Pakistan's very developed, I love Pakistan, it's my favourite country, they're not happy. And then the abuse comes my way online. But don't ask someone a question if you're not prepared to hear the answer. And it's not, I'm not shitting on India and saying that all of India is bad. And I had a great time in the villages in Haryana, met some amazing people. But what I did find is, when you come to Pakistan, you rarely hear the word India. Nobody really cares about your.
No.
But when you go to India, they want to know about Pakistan. They want to know about you, and they kind of want to guide you into saying something bad about Pakistan.
I think it's the media. I think they have a big media machine that's forcing them into. I don't think it affects their daily lives, but I think the politicians and the media are playing it up because you know how it is, fear mongering.
Yeah, I've heard over the last few years that it's starting to change, and it's like in terms of the government and the outlook that they're trying to portray and show people to other countries isn't great. But I mean, like I said, it's the one thing, the big difference that I did notice between Pakistan and India is you rarely hear about India and Pakistan, but in India It's how's Pakistan? What's it like? Is it bad?
And the beef,
Yes.
the meat in general.
I was in Haryana in the village, like I said, and it was all vegetarian.
The whole village.
No meat, and I was gasping for a nice bit of meat. So when I come back, the first night I got a steak, and it was
glorious.
unbelievable, unbelievable. But fair play to them. But I know
It was the first piece of. You know how it is with those adventure novels when you get lost, like Robinson Crusoe or whatever, and then he has his first bit of meat.
well, that's the way I was yesterday with the Irn-Bru.
Yeah, this is
When the Scottish Pakistanis gave me a couple of cans of Irn-Bru, and I was
right.
delighted.
It was insane. I saw one of your vlogs, and you were in Mirpur, and you saw Gujar Khan and all the northern parts where people mostly migrated from to Europe, but specifically to the United Kingdom. Is that something you're able to communicate back home to the other native Scottish or English people? Are they able to
people back home are now looking at my vlogs and they're going, "Wow!" I like when they were at school in high school, and some of their Pakistani like school classmates would say, "Oh, I'm going back to Pakistan." Everybody would automatically assume that, "Oh my God, that must be dangerous, or it's hell, or it's a shithole." And now they look at my vlogs and they go, "Wow, I didn't realise."
It was a shithole all along.
I didn't realise some of the big massive houses that are there, or the amount of British influence, the amount of people you meet from like Birmingham, Bradford, all over.
Did you see the Union Jacks in Mirpur?
I've seen shops
With Union Jacks
with
on
the
them.
Union Jacks and stuff on and the British flags, but it's every second person that shouts on me in Mirpur's got an English accent. It's so strange.
Just a lot of the shops, even you can pay in pounds and stuff. And
Yeah, you can pay pounds. You can even buy Irn-Bru
which is insane, by the way.
in Mirpur. You can buy Irn-Bru, and I think
In a village in Pakistan,
was it last week they just opened up like a proper British kebab shop there, like proper
like gyro or whatever.
I like the doner meat and stuff. Like it's very obviously like like most of them migrated to Britain, so it's got a very British.
No,
influence
the
there.
British. Okay, so it's not just the immigrants there in particular. I mean, there is a massive direct influence there, but overall, there's an influence on the cuisine. Like we have a big breakfast culture because of the British. We had our own breakfast culture, but the day-to-day sort of eggs and toast and a lot of jams. A lot of jams here.
I know you like your jams that you had in the UK.
Dude, no, this is the thing. You know that the East India Company still exists. The company is still there, and it sells like spices and jams and stuff. Their jam, the East India Company, their jam is out of this world. I'm not pulling your leg. The East India Company still exists. It's owned by an Indian guy, by the way. It's a smaller sort of private company now, and I think my brother came from the UK and he got one of their jams. The jam was out of this world. And in Scotland, when I went to in Edinburgh, I think it was the Summer Palace there. The Summer Palace for the Queen is there. Not the Queen anymore. The King, the new King. The Summer Palace. What's it called? The one in Edinburgh?
Let me think so I get it right.
Balmoral is the one in the Highlands.
Yeah,
That's the other one.
Balmoral. It's
So the palace has like public gardens which you can visit. Very nice. And then it was breakfast time, so we ordered scones and some cream.
Was it the Botanic Gardens?
The Botanical Gardens in the Edinburgh Castle or Villa or whatever it is. And that's the first time I had clotted cream and jam and scones, and I thought this makes sense.
Considering how much people
Shit on British cuisine.
British food.
No. Fish and chips are pretty good. even the mash and the pie stuff, that looks great.
Well, a lot of people obviously they slag that and they say, "Oh, the British only came to India to steal the spices because their food was so shit." But I mean, it's not. It's sometimes it doesn't look appetizing, but when you actually eat it, it's.
But you could say that about a lot of the watery sort of gravy stuff that we serve.
True, I've seen some stuff in Pakistan where I think, I don't know about that, but it tastes.
And then you eat it, and then
tastes unreal. My favourite breakfast in Pakistan is mashed dal.
You love mashed
I
dal?
love mashed dal, paratha, a wee bit of desi ghee.
You like mashed dal? Mashed dal is a bit of a hit or miss for a lot of people.
Oh, really?
I feel like it has like a soapy texture to it. I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, no, I love it.
You like it done up a
I
little
love it.
spicy?
It's my favourite mashed dal.
Mashed dal. What about the little chane? You know the one What are chane called? Chane in English would be chickpeas.
Chickpeas.
The ones with the chickpeas. Have you had that?
Yeah, I like. Trust me, like when I say, a lot of people say, "Oh, you're just saying that." I actually love Pakistani food, and I don't find that a lot of people say it's spicy. It's not really.
No,
You can get spicy stuff,
you can,
but it's not like extremely spicy the way people think.
I think a lot of the extremely spicy sweet stuff you get that in India because they put a lot of and they put a lot of sugar in a lot of food also.
Yeah,
they put a lot of sugar, like spicy. Everything is spicy sweet.
yeah. Even like a nice chai in Pakistan is always somewhat a bit sugary. For me, anyway, where I go, but in India, it's like you get a little bit of tea with your sugar. It's so sugary. That's a big difference. Yeah,
they use a lot of sugar there.
A lot of sugar.
Right. No, I never really. So this whole thing started with COVID, with a lot of people, by the way. A lot of European vloggers, the new vlogging sort of, a lot of them got annoyed by COVID, and they were like, maybe I should abandon my regular career, and I'll pick up a camera. And some of them ended up in Vietnam.
Well, I think when someone tells you not to do something, the general thing is, right, let's do it. And when you're confined to the house and you're not getting to go outside, you then realise that humans are made to explore and we're social creatures, we want to get out and socialise and speak to people, and that really got me where I had to go.
Where did you go from Cairo? You went back to Scotland then?
Syria, I believe.
Directly into Syria, or did you go back to Scotland?
Turkey. I think I went to Egypt, then Turkey,
and then to Syria.
Back to Scotland, and that's when I made the decision that I'm traveling permanent.
And did you post those as vlogs immediately?
I think I did. I think I posted them, and I was a little bit nervous to post them because I've left them up as a reminder, because when I look back at those videos, you can see how tense I am on camera, and a Scottish accent's not the easiest for people to understand, so I'm talking really slow and trying to talk.
No, for the audience, by the way, this is not how he speaks usually. It's very slow, and usually it's much faster and much more.
I'm trying to. Yeah. When I look back at the vlogs, I laugh, but I've definitely grown since then.
And then in Syria, where were you going about in Syria?
Damascus, and I went to the town of Malula, which ISIS had destroyed the church and killed the priest and stuff. So we went round there, had a little looked at the devastation and some of the places that are blown up. I was very sad. Even when you drove into Damascus a few years ago and you see the destruction.
And it's an ancient city, It's been there for thousands of years.
And in order to get in there, we went to Lebanon, and we had to go over the mountain into Damascus. As you drive in, there's a lot of security checkpoints, and I happened to take a video. And on the video, I said, "This is the third guy to ask us for money." And then I ended up on Syrian news.
Oh, wow.
And it said that I went to meet Assad's men, and instead of polishing Assad's ego, I exposed his corruption. And I was on the news in Syria, Dubai, and Turkey.
Oh,
and I thought, shit,
this is an international.
What have I done?
Yeah.
And the hate that came my way online was, half of the Syrians loved me, because half of them didn't.
I wouldn't say half. The majority would probably love you. The majority hate Assad.
Well, that's the way it felt.
Yeah.
I was like, and I just thought, right, this is blown out of proportion. Totally blown out of proportion.
I just said they asked me something.
And it's the same with my vlogs today. I'll just be honest. It doesn't matter if I'm in Pakistan. I'll be honest. Like, even though I love Pakistan, it's my favourite country.
Well, there's stuff that you won't like everywhere.
Yeah, that's it. So that was my first taste of exposure online, where there was thousands of comments and I thought, I don't know if I like this, because there was a lot of hate.
So you were prepared for India then? You got that little taste of.
I mean, the hate that I got in India recently was outrageous. Funny, I brush it off now. It's funny to me now. I just read it and I go, but
considering those guys don't have toilets.
I mean, it's. I think that comes with the territory, as you probably know. If you're making content, you're putting it online, you can't please everybody. But sometimes you just wish you could grab something and say, "What are you talking about?"
No, a lot of the people online, when they comment anonymously, you know exactly what kind of person this is.
Yeah.
Like, when have you ever cared enough about a video where you comment on it? Unless it was a positive comment, right? What is it about a particular video that can piss you off to the point that you let the other person know how much you hate them? I feel it has to be a very special kind of person to do that. We get a lot of hate from India as well. on our Urdu channel because we talk a lot about it's a lot about local Pakistani like politics and.
I mean, I was
lifestyle
in Delhi and I was making a vlog. The camera was on, and the rickshaw driver started saying, "Oh, stay away from Muslims. Muslims are bad. Pakistan, the country, is very bad. All this stuff." And I'm making the vlog, so I posted the video as I said I would, regardless if it's good or bad. And the Indians are like, this guy's just showing India in a bad light. And I'm thinking, well, wait a second, I'm not the one that's saying it. All I'm doing is videoing my experience. This is it's the guy who's saying it.
Did you see the guy who was selling like the weird chart stuff from like the little shop that became really famous? You know the guy who was sitting down and it was a disgusting like sloppy.
Oh, and I've seen ones as well where they hold the naan bread in between their toes and that while they're dishing out the food and them. Of it's very.
One of those guys became viral and people were mad at the guy because he was promoting India in a negative light. And I was like, no, but that's a real person doing something every day.
Yeah.
As opposed to stopping the unhygienic practice. Why are you getting mad at a vlogger showing how the food is?
I think that also does happen in Pakistan where I get the odd negative comment and you think to yourself, if someone went to Scotland and they says, oh, look at this guy who tried to attack me, I wouldn't blame the vlogger. Right. I would be like, oh, sorry about that or whatever.
I think there's an insecure sense of nationalism in third world countries where
nationalism is good, but I think
it's an insecure kind of nationalism.
I think some of the insecure nationalism is bordering on crazy with some people. Not Pakistan, like some people in the world.
There's crazies in Pakistan as well, but I feel like
I feel it in India a lot more.
I don't know if it's a proportional thing to the size of their population, but I feel like you get a lot of crazies online from India, more so than Pakistan.
I feel like over the last few months especially, India's reputation online has taken a nosedive.
Yeah. I think Miles had something to do with that.
I mean, like I said, I'm not a lot of people. I'll probably get hate on this podcast as well, but it's like ultimately,
I'm gonna put it up in the thumbnail. Guy shits on India.
Ultimately, it's everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I respect people's opinion. But if they're talking nonsense, like I'm not saying India's a bad country. I've met some amazing people in India. Sure. Like I said, the village was great. The family that I lived with.
I've been to India.
The family I lived with were fantastic. Looked after me very well. But it seems to be the online. I also find that the majority of the Indians in India in person are different to the Indians that are online.
That's because they're scared.
Hiding behind a screen, and
that's because they're scared. I'll be honest with you. This is my assessment of the situation. I think even the people who are commenting, if you met them in real life, they wouldn't be so rude. I feel like Indians are not confident enough to hate you to your face. Mm-hmm. I feel like they'll sort of suck up to you when they meet you. Like, oh, white man, love me, love our country. Please give positive reviews, 5 stars. Also, do you have any pounds? But then the moment you turn around, they'll take a big steaming dump on you.
Yeah, I mean, I found that as well, and I don't know what it is. I think there's this culture and mentality of, oh, it's a white guy, let's try and like take photos with him and all this stuff, and I'm like, and sometimes I'm like, I don't get it.
I don't get it.
It's as if they're treating like some Westerners as if they're better than them, and it's I don't understand that.
I saw this white woman somewhere in India, I don't remember, and they mogged her. They just there's like thousands of dudes just showed up to take a picture with this
photo. I also found in India. Yeah. I sound like I'm really shitting on India here, but I'm not. But I found in India, people don't really ask you for a photo. They'll come up, walk beside you, and they'll take the photo without asking, or the video. And whereas in Pakistan, like Badshahi Mosque, I took a lot of photos a few days ago, but they came up and they asked. Right. It's okay. Nobody just come up and did it.
No, there's I think personal boundaries, like physical space, that kind of, there's no filter in India. It's like, if I'm thinking it right now, I'm touching you. You know what I mean? A lot of touchy-feely type, you know.
Yes.
A lot of weird stuff.
That's why I think it's starting to shift now. India was the place, as you know, in the last 30 years, it's like backpackers all going to India. And I think Pakistan's now, people are now looking at Pakistan going, that looks like that could be a better alternative.
It's cheaper. There's meat. Meat. The people are less molesty. You know.
No comment. I'm saying nothing.
I'm just saying. Anyway, so then Syria, and did you like it there? I feel like you enjoyed yourself in Syria.
I did enjoy Syria. Syria was the first country that I went to where it was really on the red list in terms of travel. And I thought, you know what? The people were nice, they were friendly, there was no issues. Apart from the news thing, that the people on the streets were totally fine. And I thought, you know, for everybody in the West who thinks Syria is a very like Islamic extremist place at that time, it certainly wasn't. Like I didn't get that vibe. There was people out drinking, going to pubs. Like in the centre of Damascus, there was like parties going on. You could walk up the street and you would see that the pubs were pretty lively. So yeah, it was that was a shock to me that I realised that maybe not everything's as it seems.
No, it's
according
not.
to the
It's
media.
not. It's not. What you see on TV. I think a lot of the Western style media is. It has a lot of weird ideas about the way these countries are. Then what was in particular that spurred you on after Syria? Like, then were you fully in it? Did you feel
I
like
think that's at the point where I thought, do you know what, this is for me. I like speaking to people. I found traveling, and like I said, I was touching on the more I was intrigued about these more dangerous places that I'm told to avoid. So I think the next one after Syria was Pakistan.
right?
And again, Pakistan was a don't go to Pakistan, it's full of Islamic extremism, all that stuff. Now, don't get me wrong, I think somewhat that could be warranted maybe in the early 2000s when America was in Afghanistan. 'Cause I think there was a good bit of Islamic
Maybe, I
extremism
guess.
there.
I don't know. I feel like even then it was like a bit of a.
Misconception.
It was a bit of a Pakistan's never
But
been.
I
really
think,
that.
and I'm talking about in terms of from early 2000s
from a
to now.
pure physical standpoint, like pure physical safety, the potential for a terrorist attack happening was more likely because of the war
but
in
I think
Afghanistan.
the way the media still portrayed Pakistan was when you step off the plane at Islamabad airport, people are wanting to hurt you, and it's not like that.
Popping off.
The thing about when I got off at Islamabad airport for the first time, as you probably know, there's hundreds of people lined up, and I got off and I'm walking up with my tattoos, my shorts, and everybody's staring at me, and I thought, holy shit, I was like, this is nerve-wracking. So I was nervous when I got off the plane, but honestly, I've been to Pakistan 5 times in the last few years and fell in love with the people. When you actually get off, you're a little bit nervous as a foreigner, but once you actually spend time with people, you get to realise that people are staring at you not because they want to hurt you, just curious. And it's obviously the tattoos.
Oh yeah, I think the tattoos, and then the white, and then you're not a regular white either. I feel like Scots are you're very pale.
Aye.
It's a very.
We're very pale, very pale. I mean, that's 4 years of.
It's a sun damage.
Aye, like so we don't really tan as much. But I
Just get redder.
my first trip I went to Islamabad and then Muzaffarabad,
Muzaffarabad, yeah.
and
Kashmir.
shortly after that I decided to go to like Skardu and up north. Which
Did
was
you have a good time there?
beautiful? People were beautiful. It was some of those roads are scary.
There's-
Even for me, it's scary.
They're spooky, yeah.
You look down and you go, I seen a couple of landslides as well on my first trip,
Happens there a lot.
which also made me a little bit nervous. But the people were so even the police up there, they were like, "Oh, you okay?" Like just what, like the police.
They're very chilled out there. Gilgit-Baltistan, the whole area has a different culture. This is the thing. Miles also noticed this. Because Miles crossed the border from Afghanistan and then all the way he went to Karachi. So he saw a good bit of the country very quickly. And he said to me over the phone, he's like, why does everyone look different? I was like, it's a bunch of different ethnicities and races. They're not.
Yeah.
Because in his head, they were all just Indians.
Yeah. I mean,
People look different and talk different.
that border is an experience there.
The Afghanistan border?
Oh, yeah.
That's nuts, dude. You came from the Torkham border, right?
Yep, I crossed there into Afghanistan.
You crossed from here.
A few months ago,
Right.
and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but even at the Pakistan side,
No.
they were whipping.
It's a real abuse. No. There's no problem. The Pakistani government, with the deportation of 1 million Afghanis,
Yeah, I seen
all
that.
that was messed up. That was so wrong. And they mistreated them at the border.
Well, it wasn't just them whipping people. They were whipping like young kids.
Young kids and
even the Afghans, they were whipping. Everybody was getting whipped in this, and I was like, oh my god, this is tense.
That's an actual meat packer.
And someone went like that to whip me, and somebody shouted on him as if like foreigner,
Yeah.
and they didn't, and they were just like whipping if they try to get them in the line. And I was like, wow, it was a.
It's an actual meat packing sort of.
And you see kids try to sneak stuff under the fence, and it's hectic.
No,
It's an experience.
I'll tell you, the thing with that border is there's a line that that it's named after a British officer called the Durand Line. That whole thing is made up. So there was no border between Afghanistan and Pakistan for thousands of years. And geographically, that border doesn't make any sense. And that was the furthest point where the British could defend their northernmost territories in India. So they made an artificial line with gun encampments and military camps,
Yep.
and they called it the Durand Line. So when Pakistan and Afghanistan became independent and India became independent, they stuck with the line. So the line is arbitrary, it's physically indefensible. Smuggling is always going to be a thing. Most people are married on both sides, so they have family on either side. I think it's a big political gaffe that we've done, and we've done it to please America, to create trouble for Afghanistan in terms of trade and the movement of human beings, whether that be for commerce or settling in Pakistan or Afghanistan or the like. That was a really dark part. I think the reason the last 20 years have been going really badly is because Pakistan chose to participate in America's war. I mean, the Americans pressured us, but Pakistan chose to. They could have said no.
Yeah, I was reading something recently about that.
They could have, we could have said no, because we lost about 100 to 200,000 people during that war, Pakistani citizens. That's the official numbers.
Yeah.
And we lost upwards of, I think, $15 billion in the economy, which is a lot for a small economy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the border that you see is sort of the culmination of all that tension. But I hope people like did you show it on the vlog?
I showed a little bit of it. I didn't want. I was a little bit. I'll be honest with you. I was a little bit nervous pulling the camera out and just openly doing it.
Yeah, Miles also said that he just skipped that whole bit.
Yeah, I knew the tensions were a little bit high a few months ago, because I think there actually was some killings on both.
And both sides. Right after the deportations, yeah.
Yeah, I seen that. I think I read something recently. It was like 600,000 deported back, and there's over like 1 million basically hiding, lying low in Pakistan.
There's about 1 million hiding in Pakistan, they're lying low. Some of them even have like some form of citizenry, but like they're still under sort of the under that threat that maybe my citizenship.
I feel like whether you agree or whether you disagree with that, there's not really much. Okay, I've seen a little bit of it on Al Jazeera, so there's a little bit of media coverage on it. Can you imagine somewhere like England or Britain saying, right, okay, we're going to deport 600,000 Pakistanis or whatever? There'd be chaos.
Pakistanis. No, there'd be chaos. I think that the sort of the double standard that you get, and this we spoke with Miles about this as well, and I think Europe, Western Europe in particular, the migrant crisis that they have. Like this is what America has done to everyone. America has a war, it finances the war through Japan or whatever, and then the sort of the blowback, Europe and Asia have to take it.
I mean, I read there's so many debates now online. People love to debate about this full immigration in the West, and I feel my personal opinion, to just lay it out, is some people don't Britain needs immigration, but it needs some sort of order and some sort of control. But it needs immigration, so people can read whatever way they want on that. Some people like to think that we deport everybody, we don't need anybody. We do need people. But there's got to be, I mean, I think the government are deluded if they think they can just keep going on the way they're going on and not have some sort of order.
I feel like there's some nefarious design, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the more I read and the more I look into it and the more I think maybe there is sort of another power at play here, and there's another reason this is happening. So the other flip side of that is Britain's went round the world. I say Britain, let's say England, right? That's the Scottish off the hook, but they've went round the world and done crazy atrocities and some mad things,
and some fun stuff,
and some fun stuff
and
as well.
Some trains
and that as well. So is the chickens now coming home to roost for Britain?
I think that is a sort of a more right-wing sort of the idea that the crown has been the source of all the hatred, and now these people have come back to take revenge on the UK.
Well, ultimately, if we look at the way Britain left Kashmir, okay?
Yep, India and Pakistan generally, yeah.
Yeah, that was a disaster.
There was multiple time bombs that they set out in the Middle East as well, in Central and South Asia. That's neither. I feel like that's neither here nor there.
But look at it in terms of we sort of washed our hands with it, and now we are complaining that some people want a better life to come to the UK.
I mean, I
So-
feel like the more of the sort of the migrant crisis of North Africa has to do with the war on terror and the policies that the UK took in sort of in step with America, like with Blair supporting him in Iraq when nobody would.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff, I think, because the genetic memory of this whole problem might go all the way back to the British Empire, but I think the immediate sort of short-run consequences have to do with the more of the last 20, 30 years as opposed to the last 100, 200 years.
True, but you were always going to have this debate anyway, considering back when, for example, the Kashmiris and stuff were moving to the UK and given visas,
Yeah.
and their families were they were
In
having
the 60s
they were
and
having
70s, yeah.
they were going to have bigger families and stuff. So you knew eventually that population within like the Pakistani or Kashmiri community was going to grow
To a size where it would
to a
become-
size where it was maybe getting to the point where it was going to start being like 2-1 in terms of like growth. And,
it might be a demographics problem at some point.
yep. So you knew that. I mean, that was potentially inevitable because in this part of the world you do have big families.
There's,
And is that why is that down to boredom?
No, I think it's the culture. I think that was the culture universally. I think it's a post-industrial. What the statistics seem to show that in a post-industrial sort of modern society, as the income brackets go up, people tend to have the income brackets and the access to education go up. People tend to have less and less
Just
children.
like the West, a lot of women now are focused on their career.
Yeah, and that turned out
whereas-
great for them, right?
Whereas in Pakistan, it's like it still is the fact that the women's is generally like look after the kids,
Right.
have the family, make sure everything's running properly, and the man goes out to work.
I mean the gender time bomb that the Westerners have on their hands, I think it's bigger than the demographics or the immigration problem. But they both sort of work in tandem. The reason you need immigration is because you have a smaller reproductive rate and you have a smaller population and you need more labor force, and there's a bunch of different factors. But I think with the these new passport bros, have you seen passport bros, like these guys who go around getting like passports and marrying Vietnamese women, and
That's it, no?
like all there's a kind of vlogger that like a white vlogger that goes to East Asia, gets married, sort of settles there. They'll teach you about Bitcoin or whatever. You know the type,
Right, aye.
Yeah, libertarian characters basically. I think the concerns over reproductivity, the role of women in society. I think with the LGBT stuff, some of it also. I think Western Europe and America, just Western society in general, I think they are going to reconsider a lot of their positions on these things.
I think they're starting to reconsider it right now.
I do see a move to the right happening overall in Western
Even in
society.
Scotland, I think in Britain they reversed a policy a couple of days ago, and I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like there's no longer going to be these sort of gender neutral toilets and stuff like that
Right.
in public places. It's going to need to be male, female, and that's it.
Right.
And I think they're going to have to backtrack on a lot of the things
A lot of these,
they're
yeah.
pushing in schools because it's not. I also think it's a personal opinion. I think another big debate and aggravation that's going to happen in the UK is going to be the Muslim society be the ultra left, because in schools they're trying to push all this
And the
gender
Muslims
stuff,
are
and
the
the
big-
Muslims are pushing back, saying I don't want my kid to be taught that. And I think that's going to be the next
Yeah,
big thing.
I mean, I feel like the European or the Western right wing is divided in two camps. The camps that are supported or paid for by sort of Israeli lobby groups, and the camps that are completely nationalist. Those are the two camps, because you see like this weird kind of Christian right wing which likes Israel for some reason, which is counterintuitive because you don't want to get involved in.
Well,
the
who would have
Middle
thought we lived in a world where Muslims in Britain are somewhat agreeing with the right wing to go against the left?
East. To go against no, it's there was a big conversation that used to happen here in the 90s and 2000s, where up until the 2000s I would say, where we would classically vote. All Muslim communities would vote Labour
Yes.
or Democrat in America. That whole conversation is flipped on its head. I know for a fact that a lot of American Muslims voted for Trump. For a fact, I know this.
That's an example, and I think it's a misconception as well. When I was in Dallas recently, I actually made a video on it. Any black person, I actually got in a conversation, and I was asking them, because a lot of people think that the
Minorities,
they don't vote for Trump.
No.
And
They
every
do.
black person that I spoke to in America had voted for Trump. Albeit that was in Dallas and Texas and stuff,
True.
but they still were voting for Trump. And that goes back to what you touched on a second ago. I think some immigrants, even second, third generation immigrants in Britain, they're now look at it. They look at it now the way maybe other people would say,
a domestic
okay,
sort of
this mass immigration
this thing doesn't work. Yeah.
is going to affect them as well. You know, so it's going to affect everyone. So even if you're first, second generation, whatever it may be, like it's affecting everybody now, and they need to get it under control. I think it was 600,000 last year.
Really?
And look at the size of the like Britain. It's a small island.
It's a small.
We do need immigration, 100%, but we need it.
But not this way.
You need it controlled. You need to know who's coming in, and have you can have the humanitarian side and like help and get refugees and stuff, but you need a bit of order, surely.
Need order, definitely. Yeah, no, I mean, Pakistan's hosted its fair share of refugees throughout its history, and you do need order. But I think that on the other hand, I do think so the demographics change thing is real. Like London, I feel like it's not British anymore in the sense of it's not white, and I know that it's really bad to be white now. I feel like, but it's like it's in the. But I think that the thing that the Western countries did wrong was they let this sort of leftist sort of crazy paradigm take over the whole media landscape, education, and it just became a bad thing to be white, which is insane. Why would it be bad to be one
I think
way
they
or the
push
other?
that. I think they push that, and I think eventually, hopefully I'm wrong here, but I think eventually if you keep pushing that and you keep poking that, then people are going to say, hold on a minute here, and they're going to become aggressive.
No, but yeah, but then that's not the way it should. The reaction is going to be violent as well.
I mean, if you say you're proud to be black, that's okay. You say you're proud to be white, it's a problem. That to me is absolutely delusional.
It is. I think this particularized version of history where only the whites have ever been racist or any.
Yeah, I mean,
It's absurd.
yeah, of course it was. Of
Absurd.
course, I mean,
You've
actually
met me. You know what I'm like.
Yeah, that's what I try to explain to people as well. In Pakistan, like when we're talking off camera and stuff, we get a laugh, we can have a joke, we can have banter. The way I would have banter back home, we'll drop a couple of like edgy jokes, like the majority of people in the world are like that. It's just the way that the
Wait,
media.
you're Scottish. Speaking of edgy jokes, do you know Count Dankula?
Do I know him?
Yeah.
He went to my school, and I was with him with Miles a few months ago,
Oh my,
and he's from my town.
dude, I love that guy.
So he grew up 5 minutes from me.
He did know.
Yeah.
What's his actual name?
Mark Meakin.
That's the most Scottish thing I've ever heard.
Mark Meakin.
Mark Meakin. That guy's a character.
Yeah, we done the Nazi pug thing.
Well, that's why I found out about him.
I don't know why I just went to do a wee Nazi like that.
It's like a little bit. Just like a. It's about. Would you say he was about yay big? About that tall?
That's a bit taller than me, but I'm a wee guy.
About yay big? All right. Would you say it was about?
Oh, I didn't realise that you were doing that.
No, I saw the article with him and I thought that was hilarious. I saw it. I think this was like years ago, 5, 6, maybe even more.
Yeah.
I saw the article and I didn't believe it, and then he became a YouTuber, and I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, he's doing very well.
He's doing very well for himself. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a nice guy actually. Me
Seems
and Miles
sweet.
sat down in Glasgow with him a few months ago, and we're just having a little chat. And yeah, he seems like very jokey. He's got a good sense of humour,
Fun
whether
guy.
you agree with it or not. But
No.
he should have the right to
Yeah,
have
I mean,
that
people
sense
should be
of
able
humour.
to express themselves. Yeah, he seems like a fun guy.
Yep.
Real character. No, I've seen a bit of his stuff. But the idea that somebody can get arrested for a joke.
Well, that's the thing. So you're not allowed to risk offending anyone. That's lunacy to me. Like, okay, if you go out your way and you call someone whatever, you could look at it and go, okay, well, that's nasty, right? But you can't walk around the fear of offending someone, because people, the way the Western world works now is everybody, oh, I'm offended, and they go out their way to be offended. They want to be offended. Some people.
Yeah, it's a sort of
Like,
a competition for
yeah.
who's
you
had a worse off. Like,
Yeah,
it's a
like-
privilege competition, or I don't know what you would call it.
I know what you're saying. So some people go out their way to be offended and then act all oppressed.
Yeah.
They all want to be oppressed and offended, and I think it's it's not a good. I mean, look
It's
at
the
the way,
women, though. The women are driving this culture, by the way.
yeah, well, there's I had dinner with someone the other night, and they were telling me how the white Western women are the downfall. I wonder who that would be.
Right. Yeah. No, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. If you don't fix it up,
That's the thing. A lot of. I'm not just putting this at women's door in the West, but a lot of people will fall for that. Everyone brown is oppressed.
Yeah,
And that's certainly,
you know,
in
it's-
my eyes, that's certainly not the case.
no, it's implicitly racist, by the way. If you think
Well,
about
if you
it.
think about it, if you want to go down that road, then
Yeah.
you could say it is. Yeah.
It is implicitly racist because it suggests that people who aren't white are not capable of managing themselves.
Exactly.
Essentially, that's what it is. And everybody, I feel like they want to mommy everyone, like white women.
I mean, I walk about here and I see some of the houses in DHA and stuff, and I go, wow, I wish I was like that guy.
Yeah, I wish I was.
They certainly aren't looking oppressed.
I wish I was oppressed to the point I had a backyard pool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're not looking too oppressed over here.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, there's much wrong with the world's economy and the way things are organized, and we can have our problems with it. But the blanket sort of idea that I'll tell you a real problem: coming to war in Iraq, coming to war in Afghanistan. That's a real problem.
Yep.
Just abstract sort of cultural oppression. That's not real. The real problem is the wars that we have with each other, and when we're not able to reconcile the global interest-based economy. That's a big problem. The IMF, the World Bank, these things are a problem for us.
Yep.
I know this is not your cup of tea. This is not what you get into. But so you how old are you now?
I am 31.
31, and you started doing this when you were 26.
Give or take, yeah. Because
Give or
I also spent time in Diyarbakir, it's down near the Syrian border on the Turkish side, with a Kurdish family. That was all prior to picking up the camera and going and making it a full-time thing.
And what motivated you to go there at that time? Same sort of
I do have a keen interest in traveling and exploring and seeing other cultures.
Seeing
And I
people-
do honestly believe that the majority of people are friendly people. It's just online.
no.
People would have you think that you
No,
can't do this thing. Everyone's scared now of, like, and it's become this cultural thing where, like, everybody automatically assumes, like, maybe black people in Chicago are all gang members, or Muslims are all extremists and they want to annihilate all the white Christians in the West, and it's all rubbish.
Yeah.
Okay, you're always going to meet, like,
You are
extremists
gonna
and
meet this.
fundamentalists on everywhere, but the majority of people are friendly.
No, we were just talking about before the podcast. We're talking about Christian and Jewish crazies who want the apocalypse to happen in Israel. Yeah.
I'm seeing some videos coming out of Israel at the minute, and it's like Christians getting spat on,
Yeah.
and I just think, in what world is that?
Is that a normal way to act? Yeah.
Yeah, or like, if you are God fearing, what God is permitting you to spit on another human being? And that goes for any sort of religion. There's people that claim to do the things they do in the name of God, and I think, really, that's what's permitted. And you like that you could read your whether it's the Bible or the Quran or the Torah, and you're getting that message that things like that are acceptable.
That's messed up. So you started to get some success with this stuff, and then Pakistan, was it Pakistan that when it took off?
Yeah, I think in Pakistan is when I started to see a lift, and I was getting more interactions with people, and I thought it's good because
It's the English, right? The easy access to English. Pakistan, I think.
Yeah, well, I was getting a lot of comments from British Pakistanis. Oh, thanks for going there and showing people what it's really like and stuff. And the more comments you get, the more you interact, the more opportunities that are presented to you. Oh, you should go here, or come to my place in the village, and then it became this thing. Pakistan is the one country where, for me, it's number one hospitality. It's easy, and I've said that, like, number one.
Where all have you been?
In what countries?
Yeah, where all have you been?
America, Colombia, Brazil, Syria, Iraq, Turkey, Egypt, Lebanon, all over Europe, basically, as well.
All over Europe, just genetically holidaying.
Yeah, but Pakistan's easy. People want to, and people are receptive to the camera. That's one big thing compared to Europe. You walk about Europe with a camera and you want to just walk up and speak to someone on camera, generally they'll be like, no, take that camera away, I don't want one camera.
Right.
In Pakistan, people are receptive, they want to come up, they're not They're not scared of the camera.
Right.
They want to find out where you're from. And
That's a weird. I wanted to ask you
when I come to Pakistan, I always put weight on, always, because, and I wish Pakistanis would understand that there's only so much tea
that
you can drink in a day.
Yeah.
It's straight away. Oh, how you do? Where you from? Scotland? Oh, do you want a cup of tea? Like instantly.
Right.
So the hospitality here is something I've never experienced in any other country.
What is it? What is it particularly about Pakistan that you, other than the fact that you were having a lot of fun, and what is it about it that made you think that this I like? Because you keep coming back.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been some crazy places. You went to Colombia and you hung out with the cartel, if I'm not wrong.
Somewhat.
Someone with the cartel.
Yeah, well, it was with
Can you mention any
Pablo
particulars?
Escobar's brother.
The actual brother of
His
Pablo
brother,
Escobar,
yeah, Roberto.
right. And you saw the setup. Did you see any of the movement of the drugs? I don't know.
Well, I spoke to the drugs gang in the favela in Brazil as well. So I mean, I've seen these places and they've told me like how things operate there and the sort of codes that they live by. But honestly, in Pakistan, the mentality, I like the mentality. There's some things in Pakistan that I don't agree with.
I'm sure.
Which we can touch on, but it's I honestly find like the humour similar to Scottish. The mentality, we like to chat and chill. We can get.
Oh, that's my alarm. Sorry. Sorry.
We can get a laugh. It doesn't matter if you're from here and I'm from Scotland. We can laugh at the same things. It's easy. I find the Pakistani people to be very easygoing. So you can
Yeah, they are.
generally chat, and I like the fact that. So I don't speak Urdu. I know very little words in Urdu, enough just to say like hello and how are you and stuff. But you can tell in Pakistan that people they really try and make an effort to speak to you, if they don't know English. And I think the hospitality is something to be. I think the West could learn a lot about the Pakistani hospitality. I really do.
All right, that's.
Well, I'll give you an example. You look a little shocked there. So if a Pakistani gets off the plane at Glasgow or London and they're walking down a random street, are you going to get Londoners going out and say, "Oh, where are you from, Pakistan? Oh, do you want to come into my house and come to my brother's son's wedding? And do you want a cup of tea? You can spend the night here." You won't get that, but I'll get that on the streets of Pakistan.
Right.
So that's the big difference between hospitality.
Right.
And they want to make sure that you're having a good time.
Right, and the element of that is that you're a foreigner, so they want to be nice to you.
And they want you to enjoy their country. Whereas in the West, people are looking at you going, "Oh, there's another foreigner."
Right.
You know, that's the difference.
Look,
Maybe that's because the West is now at the point where it's getting a lot of.
too many immigrants.
It could well be the case, but I doubt that it would probably have been like
I
that. Even
suspect that that's just the cultural sort of difference.
I think it's a cultural thing. So yeah, for me, it's a big
What
difference.
are some of the things that bother you about Pakistan? Just be honest. Like,
I don't like this caste system.
what caste system?
Well, like, what's the thing where they say I'm a Chowdhury, I'm a Raja, like.
Oh, there's just tribal sort of affiliations.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot of people in Pakistan that like seem to think that I'm better than you
They do,
when they
some
say
of
that, and some of my friends are like that as well in Pakistan. And I don't agree with it. That's just me. But I'm not saying like.
Oh, such and such. I don't like those people.
Yeah, like they're a lower caste than us. Like, and I don't agree with that.
I think a lot of that, again, fun fact for you, that's a leftover from India.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's
yeah.
one thing that I don't particularly like.
I don't like the caste system either. But is there anything else that sort of irked you?
On a personal level, seeing some of the stray dogs, there's a lot of stray dogs.
Too
Not
much.
as many as in India. And the worst place that I've ever seen stray dogs is Srinagar.
Srinagar, really?
I think they had done a kill a few years ago, and it was like over 100,000 stray dogs in Srinagar alone. But in Pakistan, I see some dogs, and you see the ribs and stuff. Now, I do understand that there's a lot of people living below the breadline and the poverty line,
Yeah.
so they've got more to worry about than a dog.
But we have now we have some animal shelters coming up.
Yeah.
Some of the big cities have one. If you'd like, you can go
I
visit.
mean, that would be good to see that, but that makes me sad. It's because we don't often see that in the West. When I see that, I think I do feel a little bit sad, but I do understand that a lot of people have more priorities at the minute in Pakistan in terms of earning money for their own
also with
family.
the dogs, unfortunately, I think the cats are fat and happy in Pakistan.
Yeah, but I think that's
more of a cultural thing where the dogs generally people. I think it's also a problem with like rabies. Pakistan did have a problem with rabies with the wild dogs. So people don't like them around. Now I do see a change. Like there's a lady lives down my lane. She she's made a kennel for them.
All right.
All the stray dogs, and they come live outside the house, right on the green belt of her house, and she feeds them once or twice a day. And some shelters have opened up now in Lahore, and I think one in Islamabad as well. I don't know about Karachi.
I mean, it would certainly be good to go and visit them.
I think the one in Islamabad, it has a farmers market attached to it.
Because when I was speaking to you previously about there is potential for me to move to Pakistan, and I was thinking that's something I would like to maybe touch on when I'm here and try and help out.
You can 100%. They'd love to have you to work with animals here. We have a big veterinary culture, and we do have a burgeoning pet culture, because the pet culture is linked to the sort of the relationship that people have with animals. We have big kennel clubs. People love dogs when they do have them. Like, they have dog shows, and they have dog breeding
I mean,
stuff.
one of my friends here has lions.
That's not the illegal animal trade is a part of Pakistan.
Well, it is legal. He's actually got them legal. He's got the paperwork, and he gets
But
people.
a lot of people do get the paperwork done as
People
well.
come out and assess, and he's got the land, and they're well taken care of. And
Some people, with bigger farms and
he's got a lot of land.
those guys do tend to keep.
One thing I don't like in Pakistan, here's one that now that I'm thinking about this, when I see the monkeys dancing in the street, I initially when I first came, I was making a vlog, and I wasn't thinking too much of it, and I had it on the video, and it's not until I went home and I watched it back, and I didn't even put that vlog up. I've still got it on the hard drive, and I never put it up because I felt incredibly sad.
No, that is.
And I look at it and I go, okay, maybe the guy has no other option. He's doing it to feed his family,
does.
but I thought it was incredibly sad.
No, it is. It is. That's more of a vestige of the older sort of circus culture.
Yep.
That was a big deal. No, I think it's a good thing that European circuses have done away with animals now. And I think anytime soon we'll stop it, inshallah, as well. I think it's just a leftover from the old times, that catching animals and sort of training them to dance or whatever, or sing. That was a big feature when I was a kid. On the festivals and holidays, they'd bring out bears and monkeys. A lot of young kids in Pakistan will have a memory of either having a bear ride or playing with a bear when they were younger, because they would bring them out on the festivals. We have two kinds of bears in Pakistan: the sun bear, which is also called a honey bear, is Asian sun bear. It has like a white crest. It's a big black.
Okay.
It's a smaller bear, and the other bear that we have is called the Asian brown bear. Right. It's a bigger. I think it's similar to a grizzly bear.
Mm-hmm.
You get that in the north. So they usually, what they would do is they would capture them and then sort of train them and bring them.
Well,
into
I think because I kept my eye out for a bear. Is it? I can't remember the exact name of the national park. It was up north. It was
the Osai Plains.
that was the one. Yeah,
you didn't catch one.
I was up there, but I didn't see any.
If you come live here and then you go for longer periods, you will. There's 4 or 5 animals that one should really watch out for. Is the Udyal, which is a kind of sheep which is endemic to Punjab. There's just nowhere else in the world.
Okay.
It has big horns. It's a funny little mountain goat sheep thing. There's a kind of mountain leopard in Pindi, Islamabad, and all the way up to Murree in Kashmir. It's called, in Urdu they call it Tendwa. It's just a mountain leopard. Mm-hmm. It comes in Islamabad in people's houses, by the way, sometimes. So when the goat herders move south for the winters, from the colder parts in the north, so the leopards will follow them. And there's another one that's worth looking out for. I think they have one in captivity as well. It's a snow leopard. Mm-hmm. I think snow leopards only exist maybe like 300 of them in the wild or something.
I'm assuming that's up north.
They're up in the Himalayas, and they're in and around K2. I think there's one in Gilgit or Baltistan he was injured, so they had to make an enclosure for him to rescue him. I think he's called Happy or something. He's pretty famous. Like, a lot of the tourists, when they go there, they get a picture. Snow leopards, I think in the whole world, there's only like 200 or 300 of them. They're like very distinct color.
Yeah.
Their tail is about twice their body length. Very different.
Very elusive though.
You know who's the first person who'd got them on camera? David Attenborough.
What was it?
Was the first person.
Yeah, I know they're I read something recently actually, and it was seeing how elusive they are, and they're very hard to.
Very hard. They don't mate.
Hard to find,
they don't mate very easily because they don't live in packs. They live on their own solitary lives, and the mountain climate is harsh. They've never had a big population in history, but now it's getting worse. But there's a big conservation effort. Pakistan has 2 or 3 decent conservation efforts that we have going on. No, there's a safari zoo as well. I really want. They're gonna revamp it up by the winters, so and that would be a better time to go visit it as well. But yeah, you should totally work in animal conservation.
It's something that definitely,
You could be the mascot. That would be a great. Yeah.
if I make the leap to Pakistan, it's something I would certainly, it's something I'm really considering.
Because there's a bunch of organizations that are set up, and they need the numbers, they need eyeballs, they need traction.
That's it, yeah.
And we have some really decent veterinary hospitals and training schools as well. We've started this on the Urdu channel. We've started a vlog series, and I think we'll end up doing once every few months with this doctor, Dr. Wasim. Great guy, has his own YouTube channel, makes his videos with his phones. He works for wildlife and rescue.
Yeah.
So all over Pakistan, people call him up, and he rescues like weird animals I've never seen before. You know what a civet is?
Civet?
It's like a little wildcat. It's about as big as a dog, and it lives in Punjab in the villages. So he rescued one last week. It was insane. It was weird looking. I never saw anything like that. So he goes around, and then what he does is he documents them.
Yeah.
So if you'd like, I can set you up with him. I think you'd have fun with him on one of his vlogs. He goes and rescues animals.
That would be cool. That would be
He does a
interesting.
little explainer with what the animal is.
Yeah.
And he goes all over Pakistan.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
All
I would
over
be
Pakistan.
keen for that.
He's a bit of a Steve Irwin character, I'm not going to lie. It's like,
Well, not now, but
like a desi Steve Irwin.
Yeah.
But, I just told him stay away from the sea, You don't want to...
was that a stingray that got
It
him?
was a stingray that got him.
Out of everything, it was a stingray.
I think it happened. I think it was just a coincidence that it happened that way.
His son's pretty big now in terms of like the
He was
conservation
a
work he
great
does,
man.
and
He was a great man. I think he had. Did he have a big? Were you a big, like animal, National Geographic?
yeah, I mean, I watched him growing up. So did, and
Yeah, I
I've
grew
seen,
up on him as well.
I've
yeah.
seen some of his son's stuff now that he does.
It is great. No, that's a good idea. The animal conservation stuff. I feel like that would be because right now the main focus. I think the main problem is with like domestic sort of urban animals.
Yeah,
But I think you could expand that to a lot of the smaller species that do have a lot of trouble surviving in the city, because we have a lot of variety, like biodiversity, in terms of the animals. But the city expansions are encroaching on their habitats.
yeah, sure.
All right, that's not a bad idea. What's your next big, like what's the big, a lot of vloggers or content creators will have an idea about their sort of, this is what I want my life's work to be. What's the big, plan, like just to visit every country on earth, or
I don't wake up thinking I want to try and visit.
Right.
Think how small the world feel if you've been to every country.
Oh.
I mean, it's certainly a great feat to achieve, but in terms of what I would want people to take away from what I do and the content that I create, it's a good question, because I feel like I fell into this. It was always a desire to do it, but I feel like I fell into it, and the amount of people who message me and say, "Oh, I never knew that country was like that. I never knew Pakistanis seem very sound." All this stuff. So I just hope that people watch the videos and they realise that the world's not as bad as what the media tells you, and the majority of people in this world, regardless of colour, religion, race, creed, we've all mainly got the same desires. Having a safe place to live and like financially secure and having a family and stuff like that. So I honestly wish people would just look at my videos and realise that I'm out here with a non-biased or non-political views. I'm just here to speak to people of the world, and hopefully they can see that in the videos.
do you want to do like documentary style,
I thought about it. I've been offered a few things.
like high production stuff?
Yep, to make some documentaries in it. It's not out of the realms of possibility, and it's not something that I'm opposed to, but I like having the free will just to wake up in the morning, pick the camera up and go out for the day.
I think this is more fun compared to like a well scripted, tighter documentary, because a lot of your vlogs are like you start one place and then you end up another place. There's no plan. There's no
it's
method
like
to it.
I never really plan anything. I just go out, and the day's always in Pakistan, especially. You always end up somewhere. It's like I went out to make a steak dinner in Pakistan video the other day, and I ended up at Lahore Polo Club at night.
Right.
So it's like random, it's like
Did you see any of the polo where they're playing?
I seen a few people playing,
Right,
and it looked pretty posh down there as well. It looked as if there was
It is a bit of
I seen
posh
some
sort of-
nice cars and stuff. I think a lot of people were looking at me going, right, who's this guy? So it looked pretty nice, but This is another thing that I keep telling people, Pakistan offers a bit of everything. If you want the village life, the proper village life, you'll get it. If you want the modern, like shopping malls and stuff, you'll get it. If you want the sort of the scenery, you'll get it up north. Like, you get a bit of everything.
I love
in
the
Pakistan.
caveat. You'll get it up north because down south there's not much to see.
You'll get a bit of everything if you want it.
It is a strange, because this was, I think, classic. I think it is a sort of melting pot of Asian cultures, because it was a big sort of route on the Silk Route.
Yeah.
This was the big sort of central hub, the northern parts of Pakistan at least. So this is the gateway into India, to the Arabian Sea, into the all the way to the African coast, into Central Asia.
Yeah, I mean, my recent video on Abbottabad, I had someone comment, "Oh my God, look at that wee boy! He's very white with red hair," and I was like, "That's Pakistan. Like, there's some people in this country that are whiter than me. Like, people don't realize that.
No, yeah, it's a weird.
So it really is a melting pot.
If you go down south all the way to Balochistan, you'll find people with African. There's a particular kind of people they're called Makranis, because that coast is called Makran, and they have a lot of African DNA.
All right, okay.
Because the Arabian Sea, the African coast is pretty much near, it's just around there.
Yeah.
So they'll have a lot of African or Middle Eastern DNA, and if you go all the way up north, you'll find Central Asian DNA.
Yeah.
And some even Eastern.
In fact, that same little boy in Abbottabad came up to me and he's looking at my arms and he's going like this, and I'm going, what's up? Like, and he's going like this. So I got someone to translate, and he says to me, how are you going to face God with all your tattoos? And
You sinner.
And I says to him, I says everyone sins. I says, what happens if my God's different to your God? And the conversation was going on. I says, have you ever committed a sin? And he says, yeah, but you've committed more sins than me. I'm just a kid. And I was like, right, okay.
Fair play.
So yeah, I love speaking to the people here. It's really
they're
good.
They're a funny bunch. They're a funny bunch, Pakistanis.
Yeah, they're very accepting as well. That's what I've noticed.
Surprisingly, by the way, even
like,
I'm shocked sometimes.
Like with the tattoos and things.
Right.
I know when, like, if I'm going to a mosque and stuff or a masjid, I'll cover them up. I'll make sure it's.
Fair
but just
enough.
in general, when you're walking about the villages, I know it's against.
We have a tattoo culture as well, by the way.
Yeah, but
People
like
do
to
get
be,
tattoos.
to be sort of head and tone tattoo, but even the people are very. They're not shy to come up to me and stuff.
But what about this? What about this experience? What about the light going and coming?
Very common. The worst country for the electricity cuts. Ukraine recently, but that's due to the war.
You've been to Ukraine?
Yeah, I was in Ukraine a few months ago. I was.
Were they all Nazis or some of them?
No, I mean, like I spoke to some person who made a lot of the vest and stuff for the soldiers,
Right.
and he gave me some patches. And it wasn't until I got home later and I actually looked into the patches where I realised that was very right wing.
A lot of them were Azov battalion and stuff. Yeah.
But I know there's a big thing at the minute where people are saying there's a lot of like Nazism in Ukraine,
A lot of it, yeah.
as well as Russia, that I've seen as well.
Apparently, yeah.
But the Ukrainian people were nice.
I
asked them how they felt about the situation, and they says they'll die in Ukraine before they give up, and they reckon this war will go on for at least 10 years. And I just thought, I don't see how that's going to be possible.
I don't think they can sustain it.
I don't think they've got the manpower unless.
I think if the Americans keep propping the Ukraine war machine, what they'll end up doing is they'll just end up destroying Ukraine.
I also think if they keep propping up the Ukraine war machine, they're going to buckle their own country.
The Americans, you think?
Yeah.
You think so? The economy, you think?
Aye. Well, they can't. I mean, they just give billions. They can't just keep doing that.
Into the mic. Yeah, no, I mean, even with Israel, a lot of this, I just think the foreign policy positions that the Americans and Westerners have taken, it's not even the colonial thing that was a problem or slavery. It's the here and now that's a problem. You vote in these people and then they take you to a random. I mean, look at the military recruitment rates; they've dropped off. Like in the UK, they started showing ads to brown people.
Have you seen it's the Muslim praying?
The guy who's praying,
and I'm thinking to myself, right, okay.
Has it gotten this bad?
You're struggling to entice any
white kids,
any white people if you want to go down that road. So now they're trying to get some like Muslim brown kids involved, and it's like, sort your foreign policy out first, and then we'll maybe consider it. Like, so and even in America, I've seen some of the American recruitment ads.
Yeah.
They done one, I think it was last year, and it was a disaster. And then this year
I've seen that one.
they changed it to All Out, and it was very like American and stuff.
Some might get. I saw the one that was half cartoons and half real people, and it was like my parents were my mother. I have two mothers.
I have two mothers. Yeah, and I'm just like, is this? It's so bad that they need to try and saturate everywhere with this stuff, and it's they try to shove it down people's throats. Live and let live. I say, if you want to live like whatever way you want to live. I mean, the way I live probably goes against what other people believe, but it's like live and let live. But don't try and shove something down people's throats. That's when people start to get annoyed, and it's like in the West, it's just everywhere.
It is everywhere. No, I mean, a lot of that stuff. I told Miles as well. He was quite surprised that we've imported a lot of those ideas because of the NGO and schooling culture. So we get a lot of the far left rallies at the women's marches and the LGBT propaganda. We get it.
It's like I walk about outside. I don't see. I'm not seeing big billboards saying we need more white bus drivers in Lahore.
No,
we need white. We need more white people in government in Pakistan.
No, it's not that crazy. It's not
exactly.
That crazy.
I'm not seeing that anywhere because why? Because it's Pakistan.
Yeah.
You know, it's to me it's ludicrous, and it is what it is. Like sometimes I joke. I've never been to London. Never ever been to London. I've no desire to go to London.
You've never been to London?
No desire to go
Don't
to London.
Go. I'll tell you what it is. Don't go.
Sometimes I joke and I say, "Oh, I don't need to go to Pakistan anymore. I can just go to London." save myself the trip.
Yeah.
But that's a joke. I think multiculturalism is good to an extent, right. But if you
like at the end of the day, you want to go back to Scotland. When you want to go home, you want to go back to Scotland.
Yeah,
because that's home.
Yeah,
right. That makes sense.
Yeah,
I think in a controlled environment where people can share their culture, share their food, have fun, have a good time, have commerce. Make trade, that's fine. When it's in your face, you want to be with your own people. That's just a human instinct, I think.
Yeah.
It's completely natural.
Yeah. I mean, that like some people would say, "Oh, that's terrible saying that," but it's the truth. It's the truth, you know.
When I come to Scotland,
some people, I get called, "Oh, this guy's racist." Oh, it's usually from Indians, right enough, right? And I'm like, right, okay, hold on a minute. I spend the majority of my time traveling in like Muslim countries, and I'm usually the whitest guy in the room. Right. I've been to Somalia and places like that. I'm hardly racist. It's just that some people, I think, like we spoke the other night, and to go back to what we said, it's like if you want multiculturalism, like fine, have it, but when the native population
starts to get annoyed,
starts to like diminish to the point where you're like, right, okay, this isn't like where are the Brits, where are the white Brits or whatever, then you're like, it can get a little bit aggy, and you can see why. It's like if you had to import millions and millions of Scottish men to Lahore and we started outnumbering you, and you'd be like, hold on a minute here, like
we wouldn't have that,
Yeah, and it's like what I don't understand. A way to simplify that is what I don't understand is if someone wants to move to Scotland, okay, you can come to Scotland, practice your faith, be whatever faith you want.
Sure.
We're accepting. But don't try and push it, and then tell the local population that they're wrong.
Change the fabric.
You're right,
society,
and change. Yeah. So it's. I think there's to an extent multiculturalism is good, but don't push it to the point where it's obscene and it's going to change the full.
This thing that your governments do that to us, but not with like immigration, but with violence, with guns and bombs.
Correct.
So I mean. It might just be a tit for tat situation.
That goes back to what I said about is the chickens now coming home to roost because that's what changed the foreign policy. That's what I reckon. It's like I think both sides are wrong. I think the world's fucked.
Yeah, essentially,
the world's a mess. But there's some amazing people, and I love.
I think a majority of people are just normal.
Exactly. I think if a government, the population of a country doesn't all agree with their government
or if
or the foreign policy or whatever it may be, and I honestly urge anybody who does have maybe time or the resources to do so, then travel the world and explore it and see the world for what it is rather than what you see on TV.
Callum Abroad 2024, travel the world.
Thank you, bro.
What's next from here? So the people can follow you on All the platforms.
Yeah, Callum Abroad on
Instagram,
Instagram, Twitter, TikTok,
Right.
and
X.
YouTube, or X now as it's
Right.
called. Yeah.
And what's the next big plan? What's the plan for the summers?
Well, going forward over the next few weeks,
Yeah, what do we plan for the summer? Just vlogging around Pakistan?
well, I've got a decision to make over the next few days whether I'm moving here and going to be in Pakistan long term. So if you follow my social media, then you'll find out whether I'm moving here.
All right, sounds like a plan. I think we'll have some fun vlogs as well together with you, inshallah.
Yep, inshallah, as they say in Pakistan.